Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video we will be looking at AQA A-Level Psychology 2018 Paper 3 Example Answers for Gender, which you need to know for AQA A-Level Psychology. I hope you enjoy this video and find it helpful. Let's get started. Please note that these answers have been produced with knowledge of the mark scheme but have not been approved by the mark scheme themselves. There are 3 assessment objectives, AOs, in psychology. In this video they are color-coded. AO1 Knowledge, purple. AO2 Application, blue. AO3 Evaluation, red and green. Question 1. Briefly outline what is meant by gender schema. 2 marks. A gender schema is a mental framework of preconceived information, ideas, and beliefs about gender identity, gender and gender-appropriate behavior in the environment. Question 2. Outline social learning theory as an explanation for gender development. Explain one strength of social learning theory as an explanation for gender development. 6 marks. Social learning theory, SLT, primarily developed by Albert Bandura, explains gender development as a process rooted in socialization and experience. It suggests that children learn gender roles and behaviors by observing, imitating, and internalizing the actions of others in their environment. Children learn gender-appropriate behavior through observing others, models, particularly same-sex role models such as parents, siblings, teachers, peers, and media figures, TV, films, books, games. Imitation is more likely if the child perceives the model to be similar to themselves, e.g. same-sex, attractive or high status, and engaging in behavior that is rewarded or approved. Identification occurs when a child relates to a model and wants to be like them. This psychological process means the child sees the model as someone like me or someone they aspire to be. Identification influences who children choose to imitate, and this is often someone of the same sex who behaves in a way that aligns with societal gender norms. Children observe others being rewarded or punished for gendered behavior and learn from these outcomes. E.g., if a girl sees her sister being praised for wearing a dress, she may imitate this to gain similar praise. If a boy is mocked for playing with a doll, other boys may avoid the same behavior. Children are directly rewarded or punished for gender-typed behavior. Boys may be praised for being active and assertive. Girls might be encouraged to be nurturing or tidy. This differential reinforcement supports the development of gender-specific behaviors. A strength of the social learning theory as an explanation of gender development is that it is supported by research evidence. For example, Smith and Lloyd, 1978, showed that when adults believed a baby was a boy, they encouraged more adventurous play, while the same baby dressed as a girl was praised for being pretty and passive. This highlights how differential reinforcement based on perceived gender can shape children's behavior from a very early age, supporting the idea that gender roles are learnt through observation and reinforcement. Therefore, such evidence backs the claim that social learning processes are a significant factor in the development of gender roles. Researchers wished to study the link between androgyny and psychological health. They surveyed a stratified sample of 118-year-old students from 4 different schools. Some schools had a large number of students and others had a smaller number of students. The students were asked to rate themselves on an androgyny scale and then answered a series of questions. The questions focused on students' self-esteem and how they felt about their relationships with others. Question 4. Explain how the researchers could have obtained a stratified sample from the 4 different schools. 4 marks. The researchers could have obtained a stratified sample from the 4 different schools by identifying the strata in their population, e.g. the 4 different schools, calculating the required proportion from each stratum based on the proportion in the population, selecting the sample at random from each school, stratum, and using a random selection method, e.g. assign each student a number, placing the numbers into a hat and pulling out the specified amount of numbers needed. At the end of the survey, The researchers wished to treat the students ethically. They used the following statement in their debriefing: "Thank you for taking part in the survey. Your data will be very useful. Have you any questions?" Question 5. Suggest 2 additional points that could be added to the debriefing statement to better ensure ethical treatment of the students. 4 marks. 1 point that could be added to the debriefing statement to better ensure ethical treatment of the students is confidentiality. Students should be advised that their data is to be kept confidential so their individual responses will not be identifiable and will not be accessible to anyone other than the researchers and their agents. Another point that could be added to the debriefing statement to better ensure ethical treatment of the students is protection from harm. It should be ensured that no one has been upset or offended by questions on the survey, e.g. if they were felt to be intrusive, offensive, or upset by feelings aroused during the survey. If students have any of these feelings, then it should be discussed that these feelings are normal. Question 6. Discuss BEM's research into androgyny. Refer to the likely findings of the study above in your answer. 8 marks. Psychologist Sandra Bem, 1974, argued that it was more psychologically healthy to avoid fixed sex role stereotypes. Bem believed that men and women should feel free to adopt a variety of masculine and feminine type behaviors to suit their personality and should not be stifled to one gender personality type, as stifling a person's personality can have significant psychological costs, e.g. mental disorders. She therefore devised a way of measuring both masculinity and femininity independently and the extent to which a person is androgynous. Bem created a psychological self-report questionnaire, called the BEM Sex Role Inventory, BSRI. It was developed by asking 100 American undergraduates which personality traits they thought were desirable for men or women. From this, a list of 60 characteristics and traits, 20 of which could be classified as masculine, 20 feminine, and 20 neutral, distractors not associated with either gender. Masculine behaviors included aggressive, ambitious, dominant, authoritative, competitive, assertive. Feminine behaviors included affectionate, compassionate, sensitive, caring, gentle, empathetic, sympathetic. Neutral behaviors included adaptable, sincere, helpful, truthful. Participants would then rate themselves on how true the statements were for them personally on a Likert scale of 1, never true, to 7, always true. The scores were then added up and translated to 2 dimensions: masculinity, femininity, and androgyny unclassified undifferentiated as follows: mask, high mask, low fem, fem, low mask, high fem, androgynous, high mask, high fem, and undifferentiated, low mask, low fem. Added 1977. Bem suggested that people who are highly androgynous are more psychologically healthy, have greater mental well-being, and are better equipped to adapt to a range of situations and contexts due to their extensive skill set than people who are strongly masculine, strongly feminine, or undifferentiated, therefore making androgyny more advantageous. A strength of the BSRI is that there is research to support Bem's theories. Praksh et al., 2010, found a positive correlation between androgyny and psychological health in line with Bem's predictions. 100 married females were tested in India on masculinity, femininity, and a range of outcome measures related to physical and psychological health. Females with high masculinity scores had lower depression scores, whereas those with high femininity scores had higher depression scores. This is a strength because it suggests that androgyny has a psychoprotective effect, as those with masculinity and femininity traits were healthier. A limitation of BSRI is that it lacks temporal validity. The BSRI was developed over 40 years ago in the 1970s. Since then, there have been several social changes as to what constitutes as acceptable and typical male and female behaviors and traits. Hoffman and Borders, 2001, asked a group of 400 undergraduates to rate the items on the BEM sex role inventory based on whether they were perceived as masculine or feminine. The results showed that only 2 terms were still endorsed as masculine and feminine, and these were the adjectives masculine and feminine themselves. The other terms in the test failed to reach a 75% agreement level. This is a limitation because it suggests that the BSRI is made up of stereotypical ideas of masculinity and femininity that may be outdated and not be a suitable measure of gender identity in the modern today. Thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more content like this. Bye.